What's up? What's up? What's up? I see y'all tapping in. I see a few of y'all already wiped your feet off at a pimp's door when you step into a pimp's domain, man. For those of y'all unfamiliar with that terminology, yeah, go ahead and wipe your feet off at a pimp's door, man. When you step into a pimp's domain, hit that thumbs up button one time. Yeah, we're gonna have a good one tonight. Ellenwood Slim, you already know. Already letting them know, wipe their feet off at the door, huh? Yeah, we're gonna have a good one tonight. I'm gonna give y'all a minute to get up in here like usual. You dig? And while y'all doing that, I'm about to go in here and get some ice. And maybe a banana or something to snack on. Keep my pimp energy right, you dig? Get myself some ice. So when I put this love in my body, I can stay cool. Live up to my name, Freeze. Friday night. You know, pimp moving and grooving, man. Golf-driven Cartier. I see you. What's good? Y'all know I keep the love on deck. Got to get some ice so it'll be cool love. I ain't trying to put the hot love in there. Checking out their bananas. Seeing if they got some cool ones. I think they do. Excuse me. They bananas is not looking the best, but get the best out of what's not looking the best. All right. Oh shit. Got me 2 bananas. Juan Reese, what's up with it? I see you. Top of it, P blessings, double shot of H2O, spread the love, some more of it. Indeed. VA Beach campaign and dig that. That's what's up. Turf, I see you. Blessings to you as well. Yeah, I'm just grabbing a couple bananas. Then we're gonna get right to it. This line kind of taking forever though. I might just skip the bananas if they don't hurry up.
stuff to eat. No, I'm tired. I ain't gonna lie to you.
What do you mean today?
Oh,
Man, it's taking forever. Corey Ford, what's up with it? Pimpin' ass Cash, I see you. Born Supreme. Breeder 2 Trill, I see you.
Have a good night. All right.
We about to get it cracking in just a minute.
I need to charge. Like I said, I just bought another 2 gigabytes.
I see 48 of y'all in there. Only 26 of y'all wiped your feet off at the door when you came in, man. Go ahead, wipe your feet off at the door. Hit that thumbs up button one time.
Good thing about boosters, they set your line on, they don't charge that.
Like those games, like cricket does. Yeah, you can't, you can pay it from this off.
And plus, you still
Yeah.
All right. Robin, can you do me a favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. What is it? Yeah, cherry flush. Cherry flush.
Excuse me. Ah, shit. Finally, all right, man. Excuse the pimp for the delay. That line was taking forever. But I needed some ice and some bananas to keep myself nourished and to keep myself cool. So, yeah. It's Friday night, you know what I mean? There's a few of them like wiggling around already, though. Yeah. You know, pimp out in traffic while we doing this live, so you might see a pimp, you know, like y'all have before. Shoot my shot at somebody, man. But yeah, like I say, it's 54 of y'all. 38 of y'all wiped your feet off at the door when you came in. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up one time, man. And we're gonna get to this topic. A lot of you adults never grew up. Because that's so true. We're gonna break that down in just a second. Excuse me. Got these bananas I'm gonna take down. Hey, man. And if you haven't done so today yet, go ahead and put some love in your body, man. But yeah, today's topic, man, is a lot of you adults have never grown up. What you mean by that, Freeze? I'm an adult. How are you an adult and you ain't never grew up? Well, by law, you're an adult. But a lot of y'all, when you speak in terms of maturity, are not adults. Why you say that, Freeze? Because the type of nature that a lot of you have. And please, you know, if the shoe fits, if what I'm saying applies to you, don't take it as me attacking you or anything like that. I know a lot of young people, young adults, you know, when somebody try to tell you about yourself, which nobody, young or old, likes to be told about themselves, but young people have an especially hard time being told about themselves. And they think that whenever somebody is telling them something, that it's an attack on them, when a lot of cases when it's somebody that's older than you, it's constructive criticism. So yeah, and speaking of criticism, correction kind of falls in the same category as criticism, right? And a lot of young people right now have a major problem with correction, right? And see, the reason why a lot of y'all have a problem with correction is because when you were a child, you never received it. And you don't understand how big of a problem that is as an adult. See, because when you're a child, right? All of us as children, every person walking the earth right now, as a child, a lot of things you're trying to figure out on your own, right? You really don't know no better when it comes to most things because you're a child and you haven't been taught. So a lot of shit you figure out on your own as a child, right? And with a lot of things, you have an adult to correct you on how to do things, right? So, you know, but when it comes to a lot of things, the adult that's in your life or adults that are in your life don't correct you when it comes to certain shit, right? And this is why it's important to have both a mother and a father, or a male figure and a female figure, motherly, fatherly figures in your life when you're growing up, because they balance each other out. A lot of people put an emphasis on, you know, people growing up without a father because that's more common. But you got some people that grow up without their mother too, and that's equally as crucial. You know, it's just crucial in different ways, but it's still equally as crucial nonetheless. So that correction thing, right? A lot of people don't have the right kind of correction in their lives when they're growing up. So when you a kid figuring shit out on your own and you don't have people to correct certain things that you figuring out on your own as a child, a lot of them same ways, a lot of that nature that you have as a child, you carry into adulthood. I'm gonna give you some examples, right? I told this story before. I can't remember which live it was on. It was a minute ago, but some of y'all probably remember when I was talking about my pimp partner who was at my house, and this nigga like 6'3", 400 something pounds, black as hell, big as hell. And we was at the crib, and this nigga, he just felt like it was cool. I can't remember if he had just got out the shower or whatever, but it was just me and him there. But he felt like it was cool to just walk around my house in his drawers. You know what I mean? Just imagine a big ass 6'3", 400 something pound ass nigga walking around your crib in his drawers, and he had the dun-dun-duns on. You know what I mean? Imagine a big ass nigga like that walking around in some dun-dun-duns in your crib, in your living room, just kicking it, right? And the crazy part about it is this is somebody that's supposed to be the pimping, and somebody who had hoes at the time, right? Crazy. But the reason why, and at the time I think he was like 20, fuck you, say get the strap. But the reason why, like I said, I think he was like 29 years old. He was like 28, 29 years old at the time doing this, right? And the reason why he was doing this is because he started that as a child. Like I say, when you a child, you don't know no better. Speaking of which, I just had to get on my stepson. You know, his birthday was 2 days ago. So I went over to the house for his birthday. You know what I mean? It's my daughter's older brother by a year. He a year older than my daughter. And he just turned 11. But when I come in the house, you know, I got him the little Xbox One and shit. And he came down the stairs and he got on nothing but some dun-dun-duns. So I say, boy, go put some clothes on. What's wrong with you, man? You got all these women around here, man. Go put some clothes on. So he went and put his clothes on and shit. But, you know, my partner who I'm talking about, he obviously didn't have somebody who was there as a child when he was doing that shit to say, boy, go put some clothes on. What's wrong with you walking around this house in nothing but your drawers? Go put some clothes on before I beat your butt. He didn't have that. See, I had that, fortunately, because I told y'all that on the same live when I was telling that story about my partner doing this at my house. When I was a kid, I was that same kid. I think I told y'all that, but my father, you know, from the time I was like a little baby until I was about 7 years old, my father wasn't in the picture because him and my mom had their differences or whatever. So from 7 years old on, my father was back in my life. But prior to him coming around in my life again, it's just my mom raising me, right? Now, fortunately, I got a lot of uncles too. My mom's got 9 brothers, and they would, you know, correct me and my brother and my little sister on certain things. Older brother, younger sister, they would correct us on certain things, but certain things would get missed because they not in the home all the time. And yeah, these are my uncles, but they not my dad. You know what I mean? So at mom's crib, it was cool. I could come to the dinner table in my drawers and eat, and come in the living room, sit on the couch in my drawers and watch TV, and it's nothing. You know what I mean? Company come over. We in the project, so everybody kind of like ghetto. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people in the ghetto, you know, we don't know no better because, you know, plenty of other reasons that I ain't gonna get into. But for a lot of reasons, we don't know no better. So I would do this type of shit at mom's crib, walking around the crib in my drawers all the time. So I'll never forget, I was at my pop's crib. I'm about 7 years old. And it's me, my 2 older brothers, and my pops and his wife at the time. You know, everybody in the living room watching TV. And I just come strolling my ass in the living room with some dun-dun-duns on. You know? And my pops got on my head. He like, boy, what's wrong with you, man, walking around here in your drawers? Go put some clothes on. Streaker. You know what I mean? That was his little, and then he started fucking with me. See, my pops, he got a way of, when he correct you, he gonna do it in such a way that you gonna feel so convicted, so condemned, that you ain't gonna do that shit no more. Cause he gonna make you feel so bad about doing it. But that was his little nickname. He started calling me Streaker. Like, you little streaker, go put some clothes on, man. What you around here streaking for? So I never did that shit again. That was my last time ever doing that. Now imagine if I had never had my father or anybody else in my life to ever correct me on that. Because like I said, I'm a child. I'm just figuring my way out. I don't know no better. Like, how am I supposed to figure this out on my own as a 7-year-old child? I need an adult to show me better or to tell me better, to correct me, right? So, had I not had that, who knows? I probably will still be doing the same shit right now. You know what I mean? Hoes coming over and I'm just mobbing around, you know, fresh bitches and shit, you know, and I'm just mobbing around in my dun-dun-duns, just kicking it and shit. Like, you know, that type, especially as a pimp, you know, to each their own, but just the way my pimping is set up, I would never get down like that. But like I said, that correction is crucial. And that's just one of many things that I had my father there to correct me on as a child growing up. You know what I mean? Like it's so many things that he corrected me on. So that's why not only did I tighten up on a lot of things, but I became used to correction. I didn't have such a problem with correction because my pops was correcting me all the time. So I didn't have a problem with correction. You know what I mean? So that's why as an adult, of course, it's times where, you know, somebody will try to tell me something about myself and I ain't trying to hear that shit. But for the most part, especially depending on how they come at me, I throughout my adult life, I never really had a problem listening to correction or constructive criticism or so on and so forth, right? I never really had a major problem with it. I never really give too much resistance when it comes to that because, like I said, the way I was raised, my pops was always correcting me and my brothers, not just me, but I'm seeing him correct my brothers about shit too. You know what I mean? And a lot of shit I didn't do because I saw him correct my brothers on. I learned either by him correcting my brothers or by him correcting me myself or just by watching him do certain shit. You know what I mean? I would pick up. So, but the main thing is that correction. Hold on a second. Excuse my pimping. Yeah, so that correction thing, man. A lot of young people have a problem with correction, and it's a sign of, whether you want to admit it or not, it's a sign of immaturity. You know, it takes a real mature individual to receive correction, accept it, and not only accept it, but take heed to it, to implement that into your life. You know what I mean? I'll give you a prime example of me taking some correction as an adult. Just little shit, right? Like one time I was with one of my veteran P partners. You know, I'm like 25 at the time, 26 maybe. He like 55 or 56. You know, he 30 years older than me. So another P partner his age was talking about some woman that had whooped some dude or some shit like that, right? And you know, he was breaking the story down about how this female whooped this dude or whatever. And I was, you know, my young cocky ass, I'm like, man, I wish I would let a bitch whoop my ass. And my partner, T-Mac, that was his name, the one who corrected me. He was like, nigga, you know, he was old school Milwaukee nigga. He talked real smooth as shit. He like, nigga, what you mean you wish a bitch would whoop your ass, try to whoop your ass? Nigga, you don't know every bitch in the world. It might be a bitch out there that can whoop your motherfucking ass. Nigga, be careful what you wish for. And, you know, I'm still in my mind like, man, ain't no bitch out there that could whoop my ass. But it just really made me think, like, you know, to be more responsible with my words and pay attention to how I speak and to think before I speak, especially because I'm some pimping. You know, a pimp really got to be sharp with his words, you know, and you got to think before you speak and you got to be careful with your words. So, you know, I wish a nigga would, or I wish a bitch would, or, you know, that's figure of speech terminology. But when you really think about it, it's unwise to speak that way. At least that's how I see it now. So from that moment on, and nobody can, and this was like well over a decade ago, nobody can say that they've heard me use that terminology, I wish a bitch would, or I wish a nigga would, or I wish a motherfucker would, because I don't speak like that no more. Because now, like I said, I pay closer attention to how I speak. And, you know, that little bit of correction, it served a purpose beyond probably what he intended. Because not only did I check myself on saying that, but I just became that much more aware in general, and when it came to how I spoke. And even now, how I speak, you know, I just pay close attention to how I speak. I don't just say anything out my mouth, right? So, like I said, that correction now, I'm pretty sure it's been plenty of times in his life, and maybe that's why me and him got along so good. You know, Now, of course, with everything, I didn't receive it well like that, but that was just one of the times where I did. And the reason why I was able to receive that so well, like I said, is because growing up, I had a father that was correcting me all the time. So when he came at me like that, it wasn't so foreign. And he's about the same age as my pops. So, it wasn't so foreign when he came at me like that, right? So, give you another example, right? Hold on, let me take a love break. And if you haven't already, please wipe your feet off at the door when you come into a pimp's domain. What I mean by that is hit that thumbs up button for a pimp one time. And if you haven't today, put some love in your body. You dig? Like so. Speaking of putting love in your body, a lot of y'all watching right now are probably like this. And I know a lot of people that are like this, that don't like water. You know what I mean? Ew, water is nasty. I can't stand the way that shit tastes. When water, people say it doesn't have a taste. Technically, it doesn't really have a taste, but it's just refreshing to put water in your body, put it in your mouth and drink that shit. Like me, I love drinking water. And the reason why you have a lot of people that are adults who don't like drinking water is because as kids, they didn't really have parents that made them drink water or regulated they juice intake or they soda intake. You know what I mean? A lot of kids had parents that just let them drink soda and that's it, or juice and that's it. Never made them drink water, or not necessarily made them drink water, but just, made sure that they drank water. Again, my father was one who he kept a bunch of water in the house. We had soda and juice and all that type of shit too, but we had more water than anything, and we stayed drinking water. You know what I mean? So, of course, back then I didn't drink as much water as I do now, but I drank water on a regular basis. But like I said, you got a lot of people who are adults now in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who don't like drinking water. And because of that, they having health problems. You know what I mean? A lot of motherfuckers is having health problems, and a lot of it can be attributed to the fact that they don't drink enough water, And a big part of the reason for that is because, like I said, they didn't have that correction in their life. Because kids love drinking sweet shit. We love sugary shit that tastes sweet as kids, So if you don't have that adult to pump your brakes on that shit, like, hey man, you done drank a whole lot of soda today, drink some water. If you don't have an adult there like that, like I said, you a kid, you just figuring shit out the best way you know how, which really ain't the best way because you're a kid, you don't know no better, but some people carry that over into adulthood. And that's why I say a lot of people are adults who've never grown up. Another example, right? Somebody I know, it's a loved one of mine, right? It was a point in time where we was living together, and he younger than me, and it would be times where we go to the grocery store, right, to go grocery shopping, not just to get a few things. YPC Pops, good looking with the dub, you dig? Much appreciated. So we would be going grocery shopping, not just go to the store, grab a few things. I'm talking about actually grocery shopping, right? This loved one of mine, the first thing he would always get is like some cookies or some ice cream or some candy or some shit like that, like junk food basically, right? This would always be like the first thing that he get, junk food. And a lot of times when it comes to getting real food, he would leave that up to me, because he know I'm gonna get some real food. So it's like, shit, leave it up to him, right? And his idea of real food, like if he does go to get what he believes is real food, it'll be like TV dinners. You know what I mean? Microwavable shit, because that's another thing about him. You know, just like that correction thing, he was missing that discipline, which is also another thing. Another reason why I say, you know, people are adults who haven't grown up yet, but we're gonna get into that in a minute. We just talking about the correction part, right? So, but yeah, like I said, every time we go to the grocery store, the very first thing he getting is some junk food, and he putting that in the cart, right? So that's one thing. And then when we get to the crib, if you leave it up to him, right? Like say we go to the grocery store, first thing he get is some ice cream. He gonna put that in the shopping cart, and then maybe a TV dinner or two, you know what I mean? And that's it, right? We get to the house, this dude, he'll take his ice cream out and put that in the refrigerator, or put the ice cream in the freezer and leave everything else out. Just leave that shit, you know what I mean? Then go sit down and watch TV or something. You know, which is crazy. And see, like I said, that's that lack of correction, because I was that same kind of kid. You know, you already know when you was a kid, you probably was the same way. When you go to the grocery store and your mom's is cool like that, she lets you get some junk food, first thing you do is go get some junk food. You're gonna go get some popsicles or some fruit roll-ups or some candy or something like that, some ice cream. You know, as a kid, you're not thinking about real food. You like sweet shit. So the first thing you're gonna grab is something sweet. You know what I mean? And mind you, this is a dude that's at the time in his 20s. You know, like mid-20s or something, right? So, but yeah, this is what he would do every time. But like I said, as a kid, that's the first thing you're gonna grab. And then when you get to the house, what you gonna do? When it's time to put the groceries away, you gonna grab your ice cream, put it in the freezer, or grab your ice or your candy or whatever, your M&Ms or your Starburst, and then go sit on the couch and watch TV. You know, when I did that as a kid, my moms would get on me. Like, boy, don't you see all these groceries right here? Come help me put some of this stuff away. What's wrong with you? You know, and if a nigga got to doing that too much, the next time we go grocery shopping, shit, I ain't gonna be able to get no treats. You know? And that's a form of discipline. But like I said, we're gonna get to that in a minute. But had I not had my mother there to correct me on shit like that, who knows? I probably would still be that same type of adult, or that type of adult, the same way as that I was as a kid. You know what I mean? Going to the damn grocery store. Just imagine if I was like the person who I'm talking about, right? We both go to the grocery store. We supposed to be grocery shopping because we staying together, you know, and we both, first thing we do is get junk food. You know what I mean? Then when it come time to quote unquote get real food, we both getting TV dinners and fish sticks and shit that you could, you know, shit that's already pre-cooked that you just heat up, that you ain't really got to cook. You know, that would be a very unhealthy living situation, you know? And see, these types of things are just so not cool because, you know, a lot of these same type of dudes who are adults, I'm just talking about the dudes, it's a lot of women like this too, or female adults who never grew into women. But I'm talking about the males who are adults that never grew to be men, right? The problem with these types of guys is because, you know, they see things and they pick certain things up, but they don't pick up the full spectrum of what it is that they call themselves internalizing, right? Like, for instance, a lot of dudes like saying that they kings. I'm a king, or I'm a man. You know, respect me as a man when they talking to whatever female they involved with. Respect me as a man. You know, I run the show. You know, do what I say do. You supposed to listen to me. I'm the leader. I'm the king, so on and so forth, right? a lot of dudes talk like this, but like I said, a lot of these dudes who talk like this are adults who never grew up. They never became men. So, it's hard for, especially if you're dealing with somebody that's really a woman, it's hard for this woman to respect you as such when you talk in one way and you walk in another. When you saying that you a man, but your whole nature is that of a boy. You're going to have a tough time maintaining a real woman. You really ain't going to even be able to maintain a real woman unless she's foolish enough to be, dick whipped or for whatever other reason she just attached to you and can't leave you alone. But, like for instance, right? Imagine a guy and he's in a relationship with this girl or this woman, and he's telling her, to respect his manhood, and this is the type of man he is, this is how he like his woman to be, so on and so forth, right? And let's say, they just fresh in a relationship, so they live separately. Now, when this woman go to his house, his crib is a mess. You know what I mean? He got clothes everywhere. And this is a real woman. This woman, she keep her house clean. She cooks. She ain't really into fast food or nothing like that. She's responsible. She takes care of her responsibilities, got her bills paid on time, keep reliable income, so on and so forth, right? Now, you got a lot of dudes who end up with a woman like that, but like I said, when she go over his house, his crib always a mess. He got clothes everywhere. He got dirty dishes all in the sink. And he might be the type of dude because he's seen somebody else doing that, right? He's seen another guy that had a woman that was washing dishes at that guy's crib and cooking at that guy's crib and so on and so forth, right? But I spoke about this before too. It's cool to have a woman cater to you, but it's not cool to have a woman cater to you in ways, doing shit for you that you wouldn't do for yourself. Like, it's cool to have a woman wash dishes at your crib, but it's not cool to have a woman wash dishes at your crib just so you don't have to do it. Because if she ain't around to do it, it's not going to get done. You're not the type of man that's going to wash dishes on your own. You're going to leave the sink full of dirty dishes all the time. That type of shit ain't cool. Or, having a woman cook for you. It's okay to have a woman cook for you if you're the type of man that cooks for himself or will cook for himself. Or, sometimes trade off and cook for her as well, But even if you don't necessarily ever cook for her as well, it's not cool to be the type of dude to, have a woman cook for you just so you don't have to do it. Because if she don't cook, it's going to be TV dinners, you ordering pizza, it's McDonald's all the time, but you just want her to cook for you because you think that's what a woman's supposed to do. When that type of shit ain't cool, because in that case, eventually that woman gonna start feeling like a slave, Mossberg Scotty, good looking with the $2 holler, you dig? So, yeah, but like I said, you got a woman go over this man's house, it's TV dinners, it's pizza boxes everywhere, soda cans everywhere, house just a mess. She go to his bathroom, he got piss all on the toilet seat. Why he got piss all on the toilet seat? Because again, when he was a kid, he wasn't taught to lift the toilet seat up when he go take a piss. And his aim, ain't really that good. And even if your aim is good, sometimes you're going to splash onto the seat, whatever, but for whatever reason, you know what I mean, motherfucker leaving piss on the toilet seat. So imagine you got a woman coming over your house, your kitchen dirty, your bedroom dirty, your living room dirty. She go to your bathroom, you got piss all on the toilet seat, you got stains all on your counter and inside your sink. You got a ring around the tub and all that type of shit. You got hair everywhere. You got a bar of soap sitting there with hair on it. You got your wash rag that you wash your body with, that's hanging on the shower curtain. Just a bunch you got drawers sitting there from 2 days ago on the floor, trash can overflowing. Just a bunch of unfly shit and unmanly shit. Unadult like shit. Why? Because again, you didn't receive that correction as a child. And even though you might have been to a million other people's houses and saw the opposite of this, but you just set in your ways. Why? One, because you lazy. And a big part of the reason why you lazy, which I'll go ahead and get into that in a minute, like I said, is that discipline. But the bottom line, you never matured in those areas because you didn't have that correction as a child. And see, the thing about it is you'll never correct this if you don't acknowledge this about yourself. And I don't want you to, when I'm mentioning these different things, these different bad habits that adult people have who haven't grown up, I don't want you to think that, your mission should be to stop doing this, correct this deed, correct that deed. It's beyond just the deeds. It's your nature. It's the way that you think that has to be corrected. See, when my pops corrected me about walking around the house in my drawers, it taught me more than just walking around the house in my drawers. Another thing he corrected me on was going outside barefooted. I remember doing that as a child, and my pops getting on me like, boy, what you doing outside with no shoes on? Go in there and put some shoes on. Shit like that. But as far as the walking around, like when he would teach me things, and he probably didn't even intend it that way, or maybe he did, I don't know. But he would teach me something, and that one lesson would just transcend in so many other areas in my mind and in my life as a kid. Clyde Hayes, good looking with the dime, you dig? Good word, peace. Good word, peace. Good looking, I appreciate you. But like I said, for instance, when he corrected me about walking around the house in my drawers, right? I took that as, especially as I got older, because certain lessons you get as a child don't hit you until you get older, the importance of it, and it affects you in so many different ways. But like I said, what that one lesson taught me was to be presentable. Be presentable when you go places, not just in the living room or other areas of the house in your drawers, but don't just be presentable in the house when you're around other people, but be presentable wherever you go, period. That's what that taught me, right? So it wasn't a thing of me just correcting only that. At the time as a kid, that's what it was. But that, collaborated with other lessons. It just taught me to be presentable, and then not just that, like I said, I learned by watching my pops as well. And he was always a well-groomed, presentable type of guy. So throughout all of that, that's what I picked up. So what I'm saying is, it's bigger, especially as an adult. It's bigger than just correcting these certain things. It's bigger than just lifting the toilet seat up when you take a piss. It's about having the nature that even when you get into certain situations that you might have never been in and you might be unfamiliar with, you know how to analyze things and move according to that situation. because of the nature that you have, you know? And it's such a beautiful thing when you have the nature, that kind of nature about yourself, because you can figure out a lot of things that going into a situation you might not have a clue on how to do or how to get through, or whatever the case may be. You know, a lot of things that I know right now, nobody taught me, because that's another thing too that I learned being raised by my father, was how to figure things out on my own. You know, you got three main types of people in the world. You got people that sit back and wait for people to do things for them. You got people that sit back and wait for somebody to show them how to do something themselves. Then you got the people that's just gonna get it done no matter what. That's their focus, get it done. And it's not gonna be, after this person showed me how to do it, I'm gonna get it done. No, the focus is just get it done. The how to get it done is gonna come in the midst of being focused on getting it done. See, like I said, a lot of things that I know, I figured out on my own, because that's one thing, like I said, that was instilled in me as a child, to get things done, no matter what. You know, and my pops, he was that type of guy. You know, I remember, again, being a teenager or being a young man, working on cars with my pops, because that's something that he likes to do, is work on cars. So we would work on cars together. And a lot of shit he knows. When it comes to cars, you know, Pops is extremely savvy with most shit. But there would be times where we would be working on a car together and he might not know how to do a certain thing. But what he would always do is figure it out. He wouldn't wait like, damn, we got to take this to the shop because I don't know how to do this. Or, I'm going to have my buddy come over here in 2 days and he going to show me how to do this. Then we going to get it done. Nah, Pops was never like that. He was the type of person that's like, we going to get this done. Without even saying it, he would just be in motion. Okay, damn, I ain't never seen this type of, oil filter on this car, or whatever the case may be. You know, he would like pay attention to all the details, all the different parts, break shit down in his head. You know, some things would be trial and error, but he would always figure shit out. So that's why I'm that type of person today. You know, simple shit like when it come to computers or I know how to cut hair. I cut my own hair. You know, nobody taught me how to do that. It's some shit that I just wanted to do as a kid, and I taught myself how to do it because that's what I wanted to do, you know? So I'm just that way when it comes to a lot of shit with most of the things that I know, especially things that I learned as an adult. I don't sit back and wait for people to teach me how to do shit. And this is something that I do my best to try to instill in y'all who don't have that as well. You know, young people, or maybe even older people who don't have that about yourselves. You know, that will make me feel best. You know, I can give you game about a certain instance, but that game about that certain instance is going to take you only so far. But if you develop the kind of nature about yourself to where you're going to figure things out no matter what situation you in, that's going to take you a whole lot further. You know, it's like the parable about giving a man a fish and he'll eat right now, but if you teach a man how to fish, he'll eat forever. That's pretty much what I'm talking about. So, that's pretty much what that is. But like I say, you know, as a man, when you dealing with a woman, you know, you want to be mature, and when you want a woman to do certain things for you, you want it to make sense. As just like, I know of a guy who he was dealing with this female, right? And because, you know, like I said, when you don't have that correction instilled in you as a child, or, you know, being able to accept correction, when you don't have that discipline instilled in you as a child. Another thing, when you don't have that willingness to work instilled in you as a child. That's another problem a lot of people have in the adult world. A lot of people are just extremely lazy. A lot of people hate to work. A lot of people refuse to work. And the fact that the world is more convenient than it's ever been only makes that worse for people. It only pacifies that weakness in people that much more. But a lot of people have a big problem working, because they didn't have that instilled in them as a child. My pops, he made us mow the yard, rake leaves, working on cars. Pops had us doing all kind of work all the time. You know what I mean? So when you the type of man who doesn't have these things about you, and you expect a woman to do certain things for you, you're not thinking about how it makes sense for her to do it. But like I said, this dude I know, he was dealing with this female, right? And coming into the situation with the female, because he came and he was talking to me about the shit, right? Now, coming into the situation with the female, he let her know, like, look, I'm the type of guy who likes to see multiple women at one time, and he was talking about basically sexually, right? I'm the type of guy that I usually deal with multiple women. So if you want to be down with me, you're going to have to accept that. That's just who I am. I don't see myself being in a monogamous relationship sexually with a woman right now. So the female was cool with that, but at the same time, and they young. But at the same time, she's telling him, okay, that's cool, but you the only person I want to be with sexually. I don't want to be with nobody else. So, okay, cool. So this is the understanding they come into in the beginning, right? But as time progresses on, he started getting the vibe that she was messing around with somebody else sexually, right? And up until that point, it would be times where, she would know about him being with somebody else. So it came a time where he was getting the vibe that she was messing with somebody else. And he was under the impression that she was trying to hide it from him, but he just knew in his mind that she was messing with somebody else, right? So he was breaking the scenario down to me, and he was like, what would you do if you was in this situation? And I say, well, first of all, you expecting a certain type of treatment from her that you're not willing to reciprocate. And he's like, but, we talked about it in the beginning, and she said, that she was cool with me seeing other girls, but she told me that she only wanted to be with me, so she's kind of like going against the understanding that we had. I said, see, man, you expecting a certain type of treatment from her that you're not willing to reciprocate. You're not observing the golden rule, and that's unwise. Whenever you dealing with people in life, the best thing to do, the best rule of thumb, is to observe the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Right? So I said, yeah, she said this in the beginning that she only wanted to be with you sexually, but you got to keep in mind this is a female, and females are highly emotionally driven, and then beyond just females being emotionally driven, y'all kind of got to understand that you're going to treat her one way and she's going to treat you another. And, she's not going to treat you the way that you treating her, and it's unwise for you to expect her to live up to that. And it's unfair for you to expect her to live up to that, because you not giving her that. It'd be different if both of y'all had the understanding that y'all gonna be each other's only partner, and then she reneged on that. That would be different because you treating her the same way she treating you. But in your case, you not treating her the way that you want her to treat you. And he was trying to make it seem like he didn't have a problem with her messing with somebody else, you know, as long as she let him know or whatever the case may be. But I'm like, you do have a problem with it because you wouldn't be talking about it right now if you didn't have a problem with it, you know? But a reason why, you know, he had a problem with it is because he wasn't thinking from a mature standpoint, an adult standpoint. Like, yeah, technically he's an adult, but at least in that area, he's never grown up to be a man in that aspect. So, hopefully after I broke things down to him the way that I did, he started looking at it from a more mature standpoint. Like, you know, it would be foolish for you to even expect that. You know, you should have went into the situation where, okay, you telling her that you messing with other females, you know, and for her to be, you know, down with you, she got to accept that. And then when she says, okay, that's cool, but I only want to be with you sexually, I don't want to be with nobody else. You know, you take that with a grain of salt. Like, in your mind, you like, okay, cool, but if it ever comes a day where she messes with somebody else, I ain't gonna trip on that because, hey, I'm doing the same thing. Oh shit, I gotta hold on real quick. Y'all stay right there. I gotta do something real quick. Excuse my pimping. That was an important phone call that I had to take real quick. But we right back at it. And if you have not done so already, please do a pimp a favor and wipe your feet off at the door. You inside a pimp's domain, wipe your feet off at the door. What I mean by that is hit that thumbs up button. Hit that like button one time. Please and thank you. And also, if you haven't done so, put some love in your body, man. This shit gonna love you whether or not you love it. That's why we call this shit love, because it does your body great. So yeah, you know, bottom line to the last thing that I was talking about, not just when you're dealing with a woman, but when you're dealing with people in general, you know, even if you start off with a certain understanding with somebody that you're going to treat them one way and they cool with you treating them that way, but they're going to treat you another way. It's always best and wise to keep the golden rule in mind. You know, treat people the way you want to be treated. So, but yeah, like I say, that discipline, that's another thing that a lot of people have a hard time with. And the reason why a lot of people have a hard time with discipline is because as adults, they have a hard time with it is because, again, as a child, you figuring things out the best way you know how. About certain spiritual beliefs, you know, certain spiritual lifestyles, you know, depending on certain people's faith, you know, they automatically raised with that discipline instilled in them. You know, you got some people that ain't never had pork in their life or never had beef in their life. You know, I admire that type of stuff. You know, I wish I was like that, but it's all good because I'm like that now. But, you know, that's that discipline. Now, those same people that have never had that in their lives, if it was left just up to them and they didn't have some adult to instill that in them, they would be eating everything under the sun as long as it tastes good. You know, so that's why you have people who come into adulthood and eat any kind of way and don't have any type of discipline when it comes to what they eat. Because as a child, you know, they was raised by adults who ate anything and ate as much as they wanted of anything. You know, it was no such thing as, okay, you've had enough of that, put it down. You know, everybody just gluttonous, eating until they blue in the face. So, you know, when you a kid, and like I said, you left to your own devices, you're not gonna have discipline. And when you raised by people who don't have discipline when it comes to what they eat, you naturally gonna be the same way because this is all you see. And then before you know it, you're an adult and you still don't have that discipline. You know, and then you might be overweight or you might be out of shape. And you might, you know, try to psych yourself up and say, you know what, I'm gonna stop eating this, I'm gonna stop eating that, I'm gonna start working out, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And you might do it for a day or two or a week or two, maybe even a month or two. But before you know it, you've fallen off. And the reason why is because you didn't have that discipline instilled in you. And see, not just when it comes to food, but when it comes to a lot of shit, because most people who have a hard time with discipline, they really didn't have any discipline in any area in their life. Like people who have no discipline when it comes to eating, they usually eat whatever. And not only do they eat whatever, but they don't have no discipline when it comes to being clean. So their house is a mess. And they don't have no discipline when it comes to putting in work, so they lazy. You know, that discipline is a big deal. And people who don't have that, they have a hard time doing certain things. That's, you know, me, I had that discipline instilled in me from early on because my pops is a highly self-disciplined man, and he instilled that in us naturally just by the way that he was raising us and the example that he was setting forth in front of us. Like, I think I told y'all that before, you know, of course I was an adult by that time, but I saw my pops and he was, I guess, you could say he was an alcoholic. My pops was a stone cold drunk. Like, he'll drink a fifth of Cavassier by itself every day throughout most of my childhood and into my early adulthood. You know, he gonna drink a fifth of Cavassier by himself within 24 hours every day. You know what I mean? He go to work, he busts his ass, he work hard, you know. He always been a hard worker, or, you know, wasn't a stranger to hard work. So he'll go to work every day, do his thing, come home, have his Cavassier, you know what I mean, get drunk, talk shit, go to sleep, wake up the next day and repeat the same process. And then one day, you know, he had his own reasons, but he just stopped that shit. And he just stopped cold turkey one day, and alcohol was over with. You know, and I think Pops ain't had no alcohol in like, shit, I want to say like 16, 17 years, something like that. You know, and of course this was before my time, but when he was young, he did the same thing with cigarettes. He smoked cigarettes for like 20 years when he was young, and then one day he just stopped that shit. And he ain't had a cigarette, shit, at least 30 years, probably longer than that. You know, but he was a daily smoker. And one day he just stopped smoking cigarettes and ain't had one since. So this is the type of individual that I was raised by. So naturally, I'm a highly self-disciplined individual. You know, my pops, he's so highly self-disciplined that whatever he put his mind to, it just ain't no problem because it's just so instilled in him. You dig? So me, that's why when I wanted to stop drinking, it was no problem to just stop. I wasn't never a drinker like he was, but I was a drinker though. You know what I mean? I had my times where, you know, I get plastered and all that. And I drank throughout my whole 20s. But when I wanted to stop, I didn't have a problem doing so. When I really made my mind up that this is what I want to do, it wasn't a problem. And also, when I wanted to stop eating beef and pork, or even when I was young, shit, before my pop stopped drinking alcohol, I stopped drinking soda and carbonated drinks. You know, when I was 19 years old. So I haven't had any soda since I was 19. And I'm about to be 38 now. So, just about half my life. Ain't had no carbonated drinks. You know, and when I stopped drinking soda, I don't think Red Bull was out. And if it was, I didn't know about it. But, you know, when Red Bulls became popular, by that time, I stopped drinking soda. So I never even had a Red Bull. I don't know nothing about it as far as how it tastes. So, James Hudson, Long Beach in the house. What's up with it? You already know. But, you know, that self-discipline is a big deal, man. And you're going to have a lot of problems in your adult life if you just like if you the type of adult that doesn't have any self-discipline at all. You know, you can't regulate yourself in any kind of way. Like you just floating through life. You're going to have a hard time as an adult. You're going to have a hard time with people. Because another thing people with no self-discipline have a problem with is controlling their mouth. You know, and being respectful towards people. You know, people, when you don't have no type of self-discipline about yourself as an adult, you know, you tend to not really have that respect thing about yourself. And not all cases, but a lot of times they kind of go hand in hand. Lack of self-discipline and lack of respect, they kind of go hand in hand with each other. You know, because when you don't have no self-discipline, you disrespecting yourself in a lot of ways. So if you don't have no respect for yourself, it's going to be hard for you to have respect for others. So when you can't discipline your tongue, when you can't control your tongue, you're going to be disrespectful a lot of times with a lot of people, and you're going to disrespect the wrong people. You're going to ruin opportunities. You're going to ruin good relationships. All just by not being able to regulate your tongue, not being able to have the self-discipline to control how you speak to people, you know, and have respect when you speak to people, you know, right? Like Cool Dread TV says, self-discipline, being stronger than your urges. Exactly. You know, even when it comes to like being disrespectful with somebody, we all get them urges, especially when somebody is disrespecting us. But when you are a highly self-disciplined individual, you able to like maintain your composure. You able to like hold your tongue. Even though you might want to whoop this person's ass, or you might want to cuss them out, or whatever the case may be. You know, when you have self-discipline about yourself, you can weigh out the pros and cons of, you know, taking it one route or the other. And then, you know, make a wise decision based on that. When you ain't got no type of self-discipline about yourself, you know, you're gonna have a lot of problems. And like I said, people who don't have self-discipline, they started out that way as a child. We all start out that way as children. No child just starts out, you know, we don't come out the womb like, nope, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. We don't come out the womb like that. So we all start off without self-discipline. But, you know, those of us who do have self-discipline, you know, we pick it up based on who we raised around or the environment that we coming up in or whatever the case may be. That's just like Sinful. Y'all already know, you know, not too long ago, a year ago right now, Sinful was a lot bigger than what he is right now. And he was that way for quite some time. You know, and he was comfortable with that. At least comfortable to the point where at that time he wasn't doing anything about it. You know, and most people who are that size, they not able to do what Sinful just did. You know, Sinful done lost over 100 pounds in a matter of months, and at this point he done lost well over 100 pounds. But he was able to do that because he had certain things about himself already. He had self-discipline about himself. It might have been in hibernation when it came to how he was eating and taking care of his body, but nonetheless, he still has self-discipline about himself. Why? Because of how he was raised. You know, a lot of y'all already know Sinful was raised in holiness. In the congregation that he came up in, you know, it was a lot of structure. And with structure, you have self-discipline. So that's something that was instilled in him as a child. You know, and of course, you know, when we grow up, we lose our way when it comes to certain things. But because of what's always in us, whenever it comes time to utilize these certain qualities about ourselves, or for these certain qualities to kick in, it ain't really a problem because it's not foreign. It's familiar. You know, so when Sinful made up his mind that he wanted to lose weight, he wasn't like most big people that were the size that he was. You know, most people got to hire a dietitian. Most people got to hire a personal trainer. They need help. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong because, you know, at some point in time, when it comes to certain things, we all need help. You know, and it's wise to have help when it comes to certain things, because you can't operate in this world just doing everything on your own. You know, at some point in time, you're going to fall short when it comes to a lot of shit, trying to, you know, operate with nobody and just only by yourself. Some point in time, you need people. So for people who want to lose weight, you know, if you hire, like I said, a dietitian, personal trainer and all of that, it's nothing wrong with that. But Sinful is somebody who was already highly self-disciplined. The type of individual that when he put his mind to something, it's no problem for him to do it. When he make up his mind and say, I want to do this, it's no problem for him to do it. The fruit and water thing. The first time he did it for 100 days. He had never did that in his life before. It wasn't like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna do this fruit and water thing again, man. I did that shit back in the days and it worked. It wasn't none of that. He just came up with the idea on his own. It wasn't like he seen somebody do it and said, you know what, that's a good idea, I'm gonna do that. No, he came up with the shit on his own. Had never done it before, but he had self-discipline and he had his mind made up because of that. That's why it wasn't no problem for him to go 100 days with just fruit and water. That's the only thing he put in his mouth. Fruit and water every day for 100 days straight. Then he done did it several times since then, you know? Or I think the first time he did it, it was for 30 days. It might have been 30 days, and then after he did 30, he just kept on going. But whatever the case, even 30 days, you know, that's most people don't have the self-discipline to do that. And it ain't nothing wrong with that. But like I said, Sinful is a highly self-disciplined individual. And because of that, he didn't have no problem doing that. And why is he so highly self-disciplined? Because of what was instilled in him and the examples that was set forth and what he was taught and what he was given as a child. You know, that started with him when he was a child, you know, and anybody else that got this highly self-disciplined. It starts when you're young, you know, for most people. But just because you might be an adult and you don't have certain things about yourself, it doesn't mean that you can't be that way from this moment forth, or whenever you make up your mind and decide to be that way. You know, uh, that's the beautiful thing that every adult that's in their right mind has, is awareness. You know, and when you have self-awareness, then you can make whatever changes in your life that you want to make, as long as you're determined enough. So, but this is why I say a lot of people are adults who have never grown up, because a lot of things that you do in your adult life, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to confidence or a lack thereof, when it comes to being able to withstand pressure, a lot of things, you know, you never matured because you didn't have, be it one thing or another or all of the above, you didn't have that person there to instill certain things in you when you were young, and as a child figuring out the best way you know how, like all children do, until an adult comes along and shows them a better way. You know, a lot of people didn't have that growing up in one way or another, and they carry those same childish ways, same immature outlooks, immature understandings into adulthood, and they, in a lot of ways, they got the same mentality that they had as a child. You know, when it comes to a lot of things, it's no evolution. You know, but the beautiful thing about it, like I said, with self-awareness, once, you know, it really takes a lot of strength to be able to acknowledge certain things about yourself. But once you can acknowledge certain things about yourself and become aware of what areas you need to improve in, then you could do something about it. But you ain't gonna never do something about it if you don't become aware of it. You know, and that's the problem with a lot of men. Most men are egotistical and can't be told nothing. But just because you egotistical and can't be told nothing doesn't mean that this problem doesn't persist and won't persist. It's gonna persist if you don't become aware of it and do something about it. So for a lot of you, man, it's time to grow up, and don't be afraid of correction. That's the first thing that's going to take you a long way. You know, being able to accept correction or constructive criticism. Once you're able to accept that, that's going to unlock a whole lot of greatness in you, just that alone. James Hudson say, freeze, I'm the same way. I quit smoking Newports cold turkey. That's what's up. Khalil say, I stayed away from that alcohol. Yeah, man, that's a beautiful thing. Mr. Atkins say, no weed, no alcohol, no prescription drugs, no street drugs. Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. See, and speaking of drugs or alcohol, you know, that's why it's important to talk to your kids, man, when they're young about certain things. Because, you know, you can't control what they do once they become adults, or once they become old enough to make those types of decisions, which can be young. You know, you can decide to start using drugs as a teenager. Some people even younger than that. But like I said, you can't control whether or not your child makes the decision to do that. But what you can control is the narrative in their mind. You can give them a preconceived notion before they even come to that bridge. You know, you can shape the outlook on that. You know, like me, the way that was shaped in my mind as far as doing drugs, I never once thought about doing any kind of drugs. I used to smoke weed, and I don't really consider that a drug, but some people do. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say it's a drug. It's a mind altering substance, so yeah, it's a drug. But I never seen weed as a harmful thing, like every other drug I could think of. But whatever the case, when it comes to like doing things that can kill you, like pills can kill you. Heroin could kill you. Cocaine could kill you. You know, and all these other kind of drugs, you know, most of them, if you take too much of them, they could kill you. I ain't never seen nobody die from taking weed or from smoking weed or doing anything to do with marijuana, eating it, smoking it, whatever. I've never seen nobody overdose and cease existence from weed, right? So, with the exception of that, everything else, you know, if you do too much of it, you can die. And fortunately, I never had any family members who died from doing that, but I did have examples in my life from as far back as I can remember. I'm talking about 4, 5 years old, far back as I can remember, all the way on up. I had dope fiends in my family, you know, and I had uncles that was selling big dope, and I seen they rise and fall. I done talked about it several times before. I seen them go from selling dope and, you know, having a gang of money, having it their way, cars, jewelry, all the shit. And then I seen them, you know, be in and out of prison, but not just that. I seen them starting to get high on their own supply. And before you know it, they at the bottom of the barrel. You know, 1 minute, Marcus Mitchell, good looking with the 5 on it. You dig, water on me, P1 love. Indeed. You already know I'm gonna keep that love in my body, man. Good looking. But yeah, man, you know, I seen my uncles go from, Uncle, you know, can I get something off the ice cream truck? Yeah, nephew, get whatever you want. You know what I mean? Then the next moment, Unc, man, can I get something off the ice cream truck? Oh, nephew, man, I ain't got it. You know, you're gonna have to check back with me later. Okay, Unc. Later on, the next time the ice cream truck come around, Unc, you know what I mean? Can I get something off the truck? And it just become a regular thing where Unc ain't never got it. He used to always have it. Now he ain't never got it. And he looking worse. Unc used to be clean. Now he dirty. Used to have jewelry. Now he ain't got no jewelry. You know what I mean? Used to have a car. Used to have a motorcycle. Now he ain't got no transportation. He on a bicycle. You know, I seen all of this as a youngster. And certain things are just ingrained in my mind. So from a young child, I always knew that I never wanted to do drugs because I seen what it did to my family. You know, I seen how it affected them. So I never wanted to do no drugs. You know, I never was, it never was cool to me. I never seen people like doing coke and thought it was cool. It just was never, it always was ugly to me because I seen what it did to my family and I didn't like what it did to my family. You know, other people probably saw the coolness of it, you know, because I got cousins in my family who seen the same things that I did and even worse, you know, and they ended up being dope fiends too when they grew up. Same generation as me. Saw the same shit that I did, saw even worse, and, you know, grew up to be dope fiends still. So, you know, everything affect everybody in different ways. But fortunately, I was blessed to have been affected in a way where I never was interested in drugs, you know. So, like I say, that's how the outlook on drugs was shaped in my mind in that way. And then not just that, but you know, growing up in the ghetto and seeing dope fiends everywhere you go and all that type of shit, you know. So that's why that type of shit was never of interest to me. You know, I just never was into that type of shit. Mr. Atkins, good looking with the dub, you dig? Personal growth and development. It all starts mentally and is followed with actions and ends with results. Yeah, man. So what's up with it, man?
Where that nigga champ at?
Oh, he at the jail right now.
Oh, okay, I've been calling
Yeah.
that nigga. I was like, man, where the hell this nigga?
Yeah, you know, he had to go handle his business.
Okay, what's going down now?
Shit, I'm just on YouTube live talking shit.
Oh,
you
yeah?
know what I mean?
As you should be.
Uh-huh.
As you should be.
Yeah. But
yeah,
shit.
Man, I'm pissing my shit out here. This Scottsdale go knock me in snow real quick, man.
It's funny you say that because I had the same thing on my mind, you know what I mean? So Pimp gonna most likely see you out there, you know what I mean? You're gonna be.
Out here in Scottsdale go knock me a little white bitch or something, man.
I just like the way you say that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go to the grocery store, you know what I mean? Pick up something to eat real quick. Yeah, you know, go to Scottsdale, you know what I mean? Knock me some snow. You know what I mean? Real quick. Not see if I can knock some snow or, you know, see what's out there, you know, see who. No, I'm gonna knock some snow. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go to Scottsdale, knock some snow, you know what I mean?
Nigga, I just knocked me a little white bitch.
I love that.
Man, my goddamn bitch. Go get me some snow.
Right. You know what I mean? You know what? I might go do the same thing, man. You know what I mean?
You ain't doing nothing wrong though.
Right. For sure. I'll get with you. Nah, you know what I mean? Seen my partner and you know, we had a little exclusive conversation real quick that we had to have. So excuse my pimping for that. You did, but Mr. Atkins say mind y'all business. Yeah, nah, I muted it, you know what I mean, cause I, you know, some things ain't for everybody to hear. Y'all already know that. Ralph Hayes say problem with the 80s motherfuckers. Problem with the 80s motherfuckers is they didn't have an example of what crack does to you. Our generation do. Yeah. You know what I mean, Ralph? And like you say, we had that example, and even still, you had people that had that example, and they didn't take heed to it in a positive way. They took heed to it in a negative way. You know, but to each their own. But I will say the majority, like me, I don't really know a lot of crackheads just like my age and younger, or even maybe a little bit older than me. You know, But when I was a kid, I seen a whole bunch of crackheads, and they all was way older. You know what I mean? Most of the crackheads are in their, 50s and 60s right now. Maybe late 40s or something. But most of us in our 30s that grew up in the US in the urban community, because that's, I talked about that before too. That's one thing about crack, unlike these drugs now. See, the drugs now, like heroin, motherfuckers is pretty much doing that everywhere, or some type of opiates. Whether it's in the liquid form, the pill form, or what have you. Opiates is being done everywhere. Opiates is being done all over the place. And it's not just in the hood, upscale areas, people with money, they doing the shit too. When it come to cocaine, people's doing that just about everywhere. Basically my point is all these drugs that people are into right now, it's not exclusive to a certain demographic. It's pretty general. It's pretty much across the board. They doing it everywhere. But with crack was exclusive pretty much to the urban communities. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really nobody in Beverly Hills doing crack. It wasn't nobody in Bel Air doing crack. I wasn't out here in Scottsdale back in the days, but I'm pretty sure in Scottsdale wasn't nobody out there doing crack. It wasn't an epidemic in those areas, but it was in the urban community. So like Ralph Hayes said, our generation, we had that example of what crack does to you, and that example was so vivid. It made us, most of us who grew up in that generation, it made us like, I don't want to do no drugs. I'm cool on all drugs. Me and most of the people that I grew up with in my generation, people from the same time, same era as me, most of us kind of got the same outlook. I don't want to do no drugs. James Hudson said they doing meth, Percocets, and cough syrup now. Right. See, James, I don't know how old you are, but you from the beach, man, back in the days, we were seeing bass heads, man. And we seen what that shit did. Right, like Ralph Hayes said, they was snorting coke, but coke didn't really have, of course it don't, and even still today, coke itself doing powder, of course it's a terrible thing to do. Fuck your body up. It could kill you. It has killed a lot of motherfuckers, doing it even in the powder form. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to just coke, it didn't have the same impact that rock had, crack did, but that meth, I ain't gonna say it got the same impact as crack, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. And as far as what it does to the body, I think it's the worst drug ever. Meth is the worst thing ever. That's the worst shit ever created. That's like, at least the way I see it, that's the worst shit that somebody could put in their body is meth. And like James said, they doing it everywhere. See, like Ralph was saying, our generation, meth wasn't you couldn't, like, we wouldn't even know where to find meth if we wanted to. You know, like meth didn't, it was like, we knew about it, we heard of it, and we knew what it was, but like, you wasn't seeing meth in the hood like that. In the black community or just the urban community. Well, yeah, I'll say the black community. You know, black community, we wasn't thinking about meth back in the days. You know? Right, like James say, Mexicans really did it and white people did it. You know, but in the black community, we wasn't fucking with meth. It just didn't exist with us. We wasn't selling it. We wasn't using it. We didn't have nothing to do with meth. And now, this generation, you know, like Ralph was saying, you know, they didn't have that example of what crack do to you, man. So, see, because I had that example, now that meth is a problem in the ghetto, or just the black community, period, you know, I'm not thinking about doing no shit like that. And it's worse than crack? Hell no. I'm not doing no drugs, but especially that. You know what I mean? If a motherfucker put a gun in my head and said, all right, Freeze, you got to choose, I'm gonna blow your brains out, man. You got to do this crack or you got to do this meth, man. You got to do one of them. I'll be like, man, damn, man, I ain't trying to do neither one of these motherfuckers. All right. Click, click. About to blow your brains off, Freeze. You got to pick. Pass me that rock, man. Pass the rock, man. I ain't trying to really do this shit, man, but pass the rock. You know what I mean? I'm going to take me a baby hit. Like, you know, I ain't going to take no long pull. You know what I mean? I'm going to take me a baby hit. You know what I mean? Unless they get on me like, man, nah, take you a real one, man. Take a big long pull of that shit, man. I'm still going to do that over the meth. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm a highly self-disciplined individual. So, Mr. Hackett say, don't in hell. Hell yeah, Pimp gonna be sitting there like, gonna be turning red and some more shit. I'll be turning red and some more shit. But nah, yeah, like meth, that's the last shit in the world that I would, hell no, that shit ain't got no action. If they put a gun in my head and say, Freeze, you got to do this meth or die, Pimp might be out of there, man. Might be out of there. I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do no shit like that. Because it's going to kill me anyway. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean? Then like I seen somebody say something about fentanyl earlier. Oh, Mr. Atkins, yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody, you know, fucking with that fentanyl. I'm cool. Yeah. Meth causes a lot of family dysfunction. Hey, yeah. It's sad, you know, because, meth, man, it got a lot of kids without their mama right now. It got a lot of kids being raised by somebody other than their mama. And like I said, it's unlike crack, it's not exclusive to like certain demographics of people. Like meth, everybody is fucking with that shit. The black community, the white community, the Latin community, shit. Everybody fucking with that shit. Shit crazy. John Charles say, never forget macking on a sister who was tripping on meth. It was unnatural and had her ready for things not cool. Yeah, I'm already knowing, man. Like me, I just, I could never be cool with somebody that got that problem. I couldn't kick it with nobody or deal with nobody that got that problem. Alex Perez say meth is the new crack for sure, for sure. For sure, do. Yeah, like, like I said, as far as the black community, meth hasn't done as much damage as crack. But on the real, if you look at it across the board, I think it's doing more damage right now. I don't know, man, because crack did some damage. Crack fucked a lot of shit up. Because I kind of want to say that like meth is doing more damage across the board now than crack, but crack did some shit. That shit hit like an atomic bomb, like a hydrogen bomb or some shit. Like, crack was a motherfucker. But see, you know, the media got a lot to do with it too, because there's so many white people that fuck with meth. You know, the media ain't gonna make it look as bad. You know, the media, like I say, the media got a lot to do with how we perceive things. Even back in the day. And they made crack look real bad. You know, it was. It was bad. It wasn't like they had a hard job making the shit look bad, or like they made it look worse than what they did. No, they just put the magnifying glass on that shit real tough. Like in the media, they made that shit look fucking horrible. But the main reason why they made it look so horrible in the media is because it was a black thing. You know, meth is a white thing, or it started out as a white thing. Now it's a kind of across the board thing. So, but since white people have always been into it, just like powder cocaine, the media never really put the magnifying glass on it the same way they put it on crack. Sell a Dream say blacks aren't into meth. It depends on where you go. You know, it depends on where you go. Because on the West Coast, yeah, they into it for sure. Now, I know other parts of the country, they not really into it. And hopefully it stays that way. But the way shit is looking, man, I don't know. Because this generation, they like to do everything. You know, at least back in the days, if somebody did crack, that was their drug. That's what they did. That was that. Somebody did heroin, that was their drug. And that was that. These motherfuckers now, at least on the West Coast, they do everything. They doing heroin, they doing meth, they doing powder, they doing shrooms, they doing Molly, they doing Percocets, they doing every opiate under the sun. They doing uppers and downers, sideways, backways, cartwheel, a roundabout, roundhouse kick. They doing every damn thing. You know, these drug addicts nowadays, you know, they multifaceted. They not like the drug addicts back in the day. A lot of times when these days when people die from a drug overdose and they do the autopsy, you know, they be having like multiple drugs in their system, you know. James Hudson say on Pine, crack was popping on the east side of Long Beach in the 90s. Yeah, it was. Especially like around like Pine and PCH. Yeah, it definitely was. But, you know, like I say, that's why in these times it's important to talk to your kids early about these things, man, and let them know how bad the shit is, because just like I said with everything else, if they not accustomed to correction, they're going to have a real problem with it coming into adulthood. And that's why you got a lot of adults right now that got a major problem with correction, because they didn't have it as a child. You know, same thing with self-discipline. A lot of adults have a problem with self-discipline right now because they didn't have it as a child. You know, and I strongly believe that most people who have drug problems right now, which is a lot, I want to say shit. I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of the population got drug problems in America. Everybody doing something, it seemed like. But these people, they were so wide open to drugs because they didn't have certain things and certain examples given to them as children. So it left them wide open. You know, see, and the people who are just like dead set against drugs, you know, fortunately for them, they did have what was needed to make them not make those decisions. So that's why it's crucial, man, to give your kids what they need. Talk to them, show them certain things, you know, and give it to them raw and uncut, and let them know, you know. Even if you think that they might not be old enough to understand. First of all, these kids is hella advanced nowadays, and then not just that, but even if they might not understand now, when it becomes relevant in their life, they gonna remember that lesson from back in the days, and it's gonna still be there, and they're gonna be able to take heed to it. You know, once again, like when I was a kid, it was certain things that my pops would tell me, and at the time I was too young to understand. But I would always remember everything that he told me. So when I grew up, certain things, I'd be in certain situations in life, and I would remember like what my pops told me when I was 10 years old or 11 years old, like, damn, that's what he was talking about. Okay, you know, and I was able to take heed to it. So it's just good, man. Like, if you don't do nothing else, at least do your best to instill in your kids that drugs are terrible. You know, because these people that's adults right now, they got all these drug problems. I'm already knowing not all of them. Some of them did have it and still went that way, I'm sure. Because, you know, the world ain't perfect. But I'm sure the majority of people that got a drug problem right now, they didn't have what was needed to steer them away from that as a child. You know, and kids, we had the DARE program and all that shit. But to be real, man, like, at least for me, DARE wasn't even necessary. Because, like I said, I seen all the fucked up shit everywhere you turn, everywhere you look. It's crackheads and motherfuckers pushing shopping carts and all that shit. So it's like, man, I ain't trying to be like that. If that's what that shit do, I don't want no parts of it. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to use it. I don't want nothing to do with it. So Sell a Dream say some kids do drugs to act out against their parents. See, that's real. And that's a problem. That's a problem with the world right now, because it's terrible, man, that it's like pretty much against the law to beat your kid's ass, man. You know, a lot of kids need their ass whooped regularly. You know, and see, once again, just like Ralph was saying, like our generation, at least me, you know, it was certain shit. Not only was I not interested in it, but even things that I might have been curious about doing or being interested in, I was scared to do because I knew my mom was gonna beat my ass or my pops was gonna beat my ass. Like, even though pops wasn't really the type to, like, you know, beat our ass like that, but I'm pretty sure if I gotten into certain things, he would have. You know, I you know, and that fear isn't there. You know, like I said, as a kid, I never was interested in doing drugs. But if I was, like, I know if I would have tried it, my pops would have beat me damn near to death. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't have been none of that. Pop's gonna beat a nigga ass. You know what I mean? That shit wasn't finna happen at all. You know, but with a lot of kids nowadays, that fear isn't there. You know, so they gon' like Seller Dream said, they gonna do it to act out. And they gonna do a lot of other shit to act out too. So, you know, it's just certain things that I like for instance, stealing. You know what I mean? I never, as a kid, I never was really into stealing because I had friends that was into stealing. You know, I go to the store with my friends and they'll steal some shit. And I ain't gonna lie, I did it a time or two, little shit, and didn't get caught, fortunately. But I had certain friends that like every time we go to the store, they stealing some shit. You know what I mean? I never was that kind of kid because I knew the consequences, you know? Plus, not just did I know the consequences, but I just never, I never wanted to do that. Even despite the consequences, I just never was interested in stealing, you know? And we wasn't rich or no shit like that. But, you know, we was cool. You know, I never was really into stealing like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a major problem right now, man. Like any type of law pertaining to like just like whooping your kids, unless you like really abusing them, which they had, you know, laws against child abuse back then, but it was okay to beat your kids' ass, you know? But now, like, it's crazy. And, you know, kids be knowing that shit. And you got certain kids that'll put the people in their parents' business if their parents beat their ass. You know what I mean? Certain kids will lie. It's just fucked up. You got certain kids that'll go to school and lie and say that their mama or their daddy beat their ass just to like try to have their way or something and have the people all in their, man, it's fucked up. They need to eradicate them laws, man, and go back to letting kids get their ass beat. They need to go back to the days where a teacher could beat your ass. Not beat your ass, but like a teacher could, you know, take a yardstick and pop your ass if you was out of line in class. See, I remember them days. Like, my generation is probably the last of that. But when I was in the first grade, second grade, yeah, that teacher, she could pop your ass. You know what I mean? She could wash your mouth out with soap if you was talking, using foul language and shit like that. You know? And then that's just like certain little kids, you know, they talk crazy to their parents from young. I done seen certain kids 3, 4 years old cussing their parents out, and their parents is just letting this shit go down, and they grow up and continue that into like being a teenager and shit. I never imagined doing no shit like that. Well, I probably imagined it, but I never like considered doing it. Now, I ain't gonna lie, yeah, I definitely imagined it, you know what I mean? Because my mom used to beat my ass. So in my head, I'd probably be calling her all kind of shit. But I never, ever, ever, ever think about letting that shit come out my mouth. You know what I mean? Because mom's gonna tear a nigga up. Boy, what? Like, nigga gonna get it. You is not finna, like, I just never imagined talking to my moms like that. And I had certain friends, like, it was crazy. Like, I remember I had one friend when I was in middle school, right? My homeboy, I used to go over his house all the time, and his moms was sweet. Miss King was sweet as hell, right? Sweetest woman in the world. And the homie used to just talk to his mama crazy, like, oh, shut up, mom. And we like 13, 14 years old at the time. You know, or like 13, yeah. You know what I mean? And he like, oh, mom, shut up. Like, and I never would have, you know, I remember the first time I seen that shit, I'm thinking like, oh, mom's finna beat his ass. And she just like she never would correct him. She would just let him talk to her like that. You know what I mean? And me, I never imagined talking to my moms like that. But it was just, you know, I'm sure because like I knew I had the concept of consequences from an early age. You know what I mean? Because moms was beating my ass from as far back as I can remember. Ass whoopings was in effect. So from as far back as I remember, I had a concept of consequences. You know, I knew that there was a consequence for doing certain things. And certain shit I didn't mind dealing with the consequence of, you know? But certain shit I knew better than to do because I ain't trying to deal with the consequences of that. I don't even want to think about the consequences of that. And talking crazy to my moms, cussing at her, I never even still now I don't curse around my moms. And I'm 37 years old. I still don't cuss around my moms right now. But it's because of the way I was raised. You know what I mean? And I just never but you know, them type of kids that don't get that, you know, they just and you know, it, like I said, when I was giving examples of certain things that my pops instilled in me, you know, certain particular lessons just transcended throughout my whole, you know, nature of being the way that I am. Same thing with moms. You know, me not cussing around my moms, you know, because I knew that I would get in trouble as a kid. You know, that really factored a lot into me being a gentleman. You know, because a kid who just could curse around his mom and just talk crazy to his mom and tell her to shut up and all that type of shit, you know, them type of kids, they tend to not be ladies and gentlemen when they grow up. They tend to be some like just vulgar, disrespectful, you know, bad-mannered, ill-mannered people. And, you know, I just was, I'm just fortunate for the generation that I came up in. Because I think I told y'all that story too. But it's just them times, you know, adults would check your motherfucking ass. If you was a kid and you was out of order, adults would check you, not just your parents, but just adults, period, especially black adults. Oh, they gonna check you. Like I think I was telling y'all the story when I was in like the 6th or 7th grade. It was this little girl that I liked named Tiffany, right? And me and Tiffany was real cool. She wasn't my girlfriend or nothing, but I kind of had a crush on her and we was cool. So Tiffany had gave me her phone number, right? About like 12 years old at the time. And I called Tiffany's house. She stayed with her grandmother. I called Tiffany's house and this sweet old woman answered the phone. She like, hello. And you know, my little 12-year-old self, I'm like, is Tiffany there? And she say, boy, you calling my house and is Tiffany there? You don't even say hello, ma'am. How you doing? You don't greet me or nothing. This is my house, boy. Don't you ever call my house again. Click. Oh man, you know, but that was a crucial lesson in life at like the perfect time in my life. You know what I mean? Because that's the age where you kind of like transitioning from a boy to a man. You know, so I learned from that experience, you know, not only when you call somebody's house, but when you go to somebody's house or you meet somebody's parents, hello, sir, hello, ma'am, how you doing? You know, I learned that from grandma. You know, if Tiffany grandma never did that to me, I probably would be a rude motherfucker when it comes to shit like that. You know, but when I meet people's grandparents and parents from that point on, it's all, or when I call, you know, one of my friends' house from that point on, hello, ma'am, hello, sir, hello, Miss such and such, hello, Mr. such and such, how you doing today? Oh, I'm fine, how you doing? I'm all right. I was wondering if I could speak to Tiffany, please. That's how I became after that, you know? And see, nowadays, you know, like it don't be no checking with kids. Kids just don't get no type of, they don't get checked, not even verbally no more, you know, let alone physically. A lot of kids need a physical checking like crazy right now, but a lot of kids don't even get no verbal checking no more, man. So, you know, that's how you groom an adult. Like they say, it takes a village. You know, that was the village back in the days, man. You know, I come from that time where, you know, the neighbor will beat your ass if you get out of line, and moms will beat your ass too, or pops will beat your ass. You're going to go through a round robin of ass whoopings, you know what I mean? Depending on what you do and where, you know? So, John Charles say, one reason you here and doing well, Freeze, because of moms. Indeed. Wouldn't be here and doing well without moms. You know what I mean? You know, I got good relationship with both of my parents, man. Moms and pops. Love them both dearly. You know, it's a blessing. It's a blessing if you got, if you know, got a good relationship with both of your parents or either one of them, man, or if you still got them here living, you know, if you got one or you got the other or you got both, man, it's a blessing. You got to cherish your parents, man. You know, my pops, it's funny, man, because now my pops getting older, he kind of, you know, Pop's about to be 65 next month. So he kind of like, you know, softening up in his older age. But, you know, Pops was like real, you know, when I was growing up, Pops was like real stern, you know, never really showed emotion, you know, he just was real stern, masculine, you know, individual. But now I guess, you know, him being up older in age now, you know, like I say, he's gotten a lot better with expressing his emotions, you know what I mean? Before, Pops was always like that tough, you know, like just like how I am now, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie, you know, I really got a problem with being, you know, emotional, or not being emotional, but expressing myself emotionally when it comes to certain things. I could be better in certain instances, you know what I mean? But my pops, he's gotten a lot better with that as he's gotten older. You know what I mean? So just not too long ago, I was in a situation and I was with some people, and these are the type of people who, like, you know, we might be in a situation together and they all sitting around waiting for somebody else to figure it out. Or they might be waiting for me to figure it out or get it done. Or they waiting for me, that, you know, they at a standstill until somebody else shows them how to do shit. So I sent my pops a text message. I said, man, you know, basically I was letting him know that I appreciate him for being who he was to me, you know, and instilling what he instilled in me, you know, without getting into detail because the message was long as hell. But I basically thanked him and let him know that I appreciate him and I love him for, you know, being who he was to me. And he texted me back. He was like, wow. He was like, thank you, man. I love you too. Woo, woo. And like, we never, you know, now we do that. When I talk to my pops, he'll tell me I love you, and I tell him I love you too. But when I was a kid, it wasn't none of that. It wasn't no I love you. Like I said, Pops was like a real stern dude, and like it's just like some like automatic shit, like, nigga, you know I love you. He wouldn't even say that, you know what I mean? It's just something like you supposed to already know. Like, oh, that nigga, he know I love him, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Pops, I never recall that. Even as a little kid, you know, when you little, you know, it's cool to tell a little kid, I love you. I'm not saying it never happened, but I don't recall that. And my memory is like on point with a lot of shit. I don't recall my pops ever telling me throughout my whole childhood, I love you. And I don't recall ever telling him that. But moms all the time, you know, my whole life, far back as I can remember. Love you, mom. Love you too. Love you too. I love you, mom. All that. Like with moms, regular shit, still to this day. You know what I mean? But with pops, It never would. Never. But now it's a regular thing. You know what I mean? For us to tell each other that I love you too. You know what I mean? We do that now. And yeah, so like I said, you know, Pops done got a lot better when it comes to that. You know, and that's something that I'm still rough around the edges. You know what I mean? I'm still rough around pimps. You know, I'm still diehard, ice cold pimp. You know what I mean? My motherfucking ass, I still need some work when it comes to that. You know what I mean? But and then too, that's one thing I know about my pops too. See, my dad and my grandfather, which is his father, they didn't really have a good relationship up until my grandfather was on his deathbed. You know what I mean? Or not I say probably like a few years, like his last few years of life. I think my grandfather, yeah, he lived to be 72. My dad's dad passed away when he was 72. I was 9 at the time. So you know, most of my dad's life, him and his dad didn't really have a good relationship. You know what I mean? Like my pops was like a hard, stern, masculine, you know, tough as nails type dude. But his dad was like, back when he was growing up, you know, them niggas from back in the days, them niggas, you know, that was born in the 1900s, the teens, in the 20s and 30s, like them niggas from back in them days, they was like, never I love you. And it wasn't, none of them niggas was tough as a motherfucker. Like everything was hardcore, everything was tough. You know what I mean? It wasn't none of that. So, you know, and I think that's why, like, you know, my pops, he learned from his dad, and he, as a result of that, he did his best to be better with us. And I think he was better with us than his dad was with him. You know what I mean? Because his dad was the type, you know, my pops, he got in a lot of trouble when he was a kid. You know what I mean? He was a car thief and in and out of juvenile hall, shit like that. And whenever he would like get in trouble, you know what I mean? Even as a kid, his pops was like, shit, that nigga got himself there. He gonna have to get himself out. You know what I mean? That's how them old school pops was back in the day. But see, so when it came to me, when I got in trouble, he was like, the shit that he did with me, that shit that his father never did with him. You know what I mean? Like my pops used to drive, he used to drive 3.5 hours on the weekends to come visit me in prison. You know what I mean? And bring my little female who I was cool with at the time. He'll go pick her up, you know what I mean? And bring, you know, they'll come visit me together. You know what I mean? My little sister, she was a little kid at the time. He'll bring my little sister up there to see me. You know what I mean? He'll drive 3.5 hours, you know what I mean? He'll put money on my books if I needed it, you know what I mean? Send packages, like showing up to court dates when I was fighting my case. You know, his dad didn't do none of that with him, but with me, he did them type of things, and I already know because like he wanted to be better than he didn't want to be like how his dad was, because he knew what it was like to be in that situation and not have your dad there for you. So, you know, he was there for me when it came to shit like that. You dig? But now his pops was like hardcore, you know, tough as nails type of dude. You dig? I remember even one time, man, when I remember I got arrested for some shit. No, I take that back. Before I got arrested, right? My two homeboys, we was all crimies. And before we got arrested and, you know, end up fighting our case and going to the pen, the both of them got arrested. I was supposed to be with them on that My Life Before the Game. I told this story before. But to summarize, this one day, I was supposed to go with my partners to handle some business, do our hustle. And they were supposed to pick me up. but they didn't come pick me up. They just went straight to go handle the business without me. So when they went to go do it without me, I just went on by my business, got in traffic, was, doing my thing. And then the homie Stacy called me on three-way, had his baby mama three-way, he in jail. You know what I mean? So he like, yeah, you probably don't want to be at the house right now. You know what I mean? So I don't pack nothing. I immediately jump in the whip, leave the crib, and I was scared to go home. I had an apartment downtown. Well, not downtown, but like, I guess you could say that's Belmont Shores. I had an apartment like 2 blocks from the beach. It's a park in Long Beach called Bixby Park. James, you already know what I'm talking about. I had an apartment right next to Bixby Park. And, I left all kind of incriminating shit in my apartment. You know what I mean? So my pops had an extra key to my apartment. So I called him and told him, I said, damn, Pops, you know what I mean? I told him, I was like, man, my Stacy and Smooth, they just got arrested. You know what I mean? They probably looking for me right now. You know what I mean? I'm scared to go home. I got all kind of shit up in there. Pops was like, don't even trip. You know what I mean? I got you. Man, Pops went to the apartment and cleaned everything out. You know what I mean? Like, he not just my pops, you know what I mean? He kind of like a G homie, you know what I mean? Like, he the big homie, you know what I mean? But, like, he didn't, like I said, he done been in jail. He done got in trouble. He did his dirt. He did his hustles and all that shit too. So he know what it's like. So when I told him that, I was like, man, I'm scared to go home. I got all kind of shit in there that need to be out of there if they come. He was like, don't trip. He stopped what he was doing and went straight to my crib, got all that shit out of there. Fortunately, they never even came to the crib. So, well, not at that time. They ended up coming later on, like months later. But at that particular time, they didn't. And I ended up going home and shit was cool for the time being. You know what I mean? But it was just dope that Pops did that for me. You know what I mean? Like, he just stopped what he was doing and was like, I got you. Don't trip. You know what I mean? Went over there and cleaned the whole crib out, every type of shred of evidence or anything that I had in the crib. He got all that shit up out of there. You know what I mean? So that was dope. Yeah, but the moral of the story, yeah, not like you say, James, not 2nd Street was a little down the way. You know what I mean? If you're talking about 2nd Street and Belmont Shore, where all the little strip over there, I wasn't over there. I was like, I was between Cherry and Wanapero. It's a little street over there called Appleton. I stayed on Appleton between Cherry and Wanapero. I had a little apartment over there, In my whole neighborhood, everybody around me was gay. I was like one of the only motherfuckers in that neighborhood who wasn't gay. But at first I felt, I'm young. So I felt kind of funny about the shit at first, but then I got to thinking about it. I was like, it's kind of cool staying down here around all these gay people. Like, I ain't got to worry about nobody breaking into my car. You know what I mean? The neighborhood is well kept and clean. You know what I mean? Like, everything is nice. I ain't got to worry about nobody breaking into my house. Shit was cool. And then, the people down there was cool too. So, it's kind of like a growing experience for me. But we've been live for 2 hours and 15 minutes. You know what I mean? If you haven't already, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button for a pimp. Put some love in your life. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. I appreciate y'all as always. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for hitting the thumbs up button. I appreciate you for hitting the thumbs down button. As long as you hit one of them, one beat none. You dig? I appreciate your questions, your comments, your input. I appreciate your shares. I appreciate, excuse me. I appreciate the super chats. I appreciate all y'all support in every which way that you come with it. Y'all already know, man. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Freeze is it. If y'all out in traffic tonight, please do so in a safe fashion. I holla.